Guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs, and we are here today to do a quick video on this Phoenix Props V2 Crossguard. Just about finished with this guy. This is for David, and the point of this video is really for David to check out the progress and give me some feedback to see how he feels about everything so far. But it's pretty much finished, and I'm really happy with how it came out, so I'm going to run through it and share it with you guys. To begin with, it's got the old-fashioned recharge port and kill key down here. So to activate the saber, you can either twist or remove. I'm just going to twist. There's about 8 different boot sounds, just to keep it fun. See what the next one is. My favorite one. One more.
You know what I've come for.
Perfect. Just what I wanted. So, that's that. As far as the exterior goes, I didn't do a whole lot. I replaced the red wire. The standard one that comes with this hilt is floppy, and therefore is not going to hold up to aggressive handling. So what I used was some solid core 14, I believe, maybe 12 gauge red, just Romex, and it's much more strong, much more rigid, so you don't have to worry about it flopping around or bending if you're swinging or dueling or whatever. Plus it's a nice bright red. There's another plus of that which I'll get to later. The next thing I did was I added, this hilt was completely painted already when I received it. I think it was Artifacts, the company that did it, and the paint job is great. I added just a couple extra paint details down inside this electronics reveal area. You'll notice there are some much higher gloss metallic elements, like the transistors and different areas. I used some of the Molotov chrome ink to get that effect, just to make this section pop a little bit more. Not a huge deal, just a little bit of additional detail. Next up, buttons. This is your activation right here. Next up, here, hidden just underneath the right side crossguard Aquilian, is your auxiliary button. It's actually not something I'm going to take credit for. It seemed to be exactly where Phoenix Props had intended for the button to go, because they're underneath this section of the hilt. The section of the hilt that's directly underneath it had a little square cutout or depression that's the exact same size as a tactile switch, so I'm pretty sure that they were saying, hey, psst, so you know, auxiliary button can go right here. And it's perfect because it's handy to touch with your thumb, and it's totally hidden, but really easy access at the same time. Next up, this hilt comes with blade plugs already, which is great. That's a nice extra detail that the Corbanth and other versions don't come with, something you have to buy extra yourself. They are just solid aluminum in this style. What I did was I took the back half of them off and created custom Neopixel blade plugs. Nice bright shine through going on there, but I also used some black dyed baffling so that this section here wouldn't be white on the inside, because god, that would look terrible. So you still have the black look. In fact, you wouldn't even know if you were looking at this hilt without it turned on that that was anything but just a solid piece. Then when you fire it up, Get nice light on all of them. Let's see, what next? Let's go check out the inside. I think my only real gripe with this hilt is accessing the internals. Not that it's really difficult, but it's definitely not as easy as some others. So there are 3 screws, one here, and one here. For ease of this video, I don't have these 2 in, just this one. And I only have it finger tight, just so I can quickly show you guys. Simple as removing that, and then 2 more. And then to access the internals, just slide down. Now, the main issue that I ran into here was, what do we do about this red wire? Well, this is the next added bonus of switching the red wire up to something that's rigid. You can have the red wire be in 2 pieces, 2 sections, and if it's rigid, when you slide it out, guess what stays in place? Gotta love that. So, remove this whole bottom section, as simple as that. Now this piece also can be removed, but what I'm going to do before I call it finished is attach this guy to this guy so that this doesn't move around when checking out the internals. But it's multiple pieces, so as of now, as it's not quite 100% finished, I haven't locked that down yet. But what we've got here is the Goth 3 Designs master chassis. It's done in polished stainless steel and an iron finished black resin. Got a whole bunch of good stuff going on in here. A lot of different metal elements that I worked into it just to give the whole thing a more realistic and premium look. But the chassis itself, like I said, I did a nice heavy duty thick dark iron finish on it. Sorry guys, see if I can avoid hitting that button every 4 seconds. There's some additional stainless steel hexagonal mesh down here, right around the recharge port, just kind of cage the recharge port out. Did some scarring to this section right here to make it look a bit more realistic as well as battle damaged. We have rhodium crystal chamber cages, and these are orange quartz. Not rose quartz, but they are naturally occurring quartz crystals. But they are a orange/amber color, and they look great in a Sith saber because, as you guys know, Sith crystals are amber or pink. So we don't want to use clear ones in here for everything, but especially when you've got a red blade, they just work. Next up here, we've got some Neopixel accents going on in the saber. I like to think of these guys as vents. So when the saber fires up, the vents heat up along with the internal structure here and go to a much deeper red color and get more aggressive and fast and bright, and so it looks kind of more like it's venting the excess heat generated by the saber itself. Let's fire that guy up so you guys can see it. And actually, this one I programmed to have a gradient of color in it, so I think I may change that to a solid color, more like the next font here. So I think the effect works better. So as the saber powers up and gets heated up, the vents start kicking out some red heat effect. And then as you power it down, the saber cools down, the vents cool down. Crystal, as you can see, dual, and they light up really well. Way better in person than they are in the video, and they look good in the video already. They are designed to mimic what the lightsaber blades are doing. So obviously this is a red blade, a white blaster block. The white blade lockup. So the idea here is that this thing is just kicking off a ton of heat because the idea behind Kylo's saber is that it's kind of homemade by a rookie who doesn't have his head screwed on quite right, I guess I could say, and probably got some learning to do as far as building sabers goes. So this thing is just, you know, it's kind of staticky, it's kind of rough, it's kind of loud, kind of overheating, and not an example of a true Jedi's sophisticated weapon, so to speak. Now, let's see, for the good stuff, well, I'll give you guys a tour of the back real quick too. Just more of the same with the iron finish and stainless steel elements. Underneath this guy, you've got your Teensysaber. Underneath here is just a wire channel, nothing going on really under there. There is a set screw right here. That is what holds the chassis in. If you release that, the whole chassis comes out, and there are quick release adapters, connectors going on in there, so that the blade connectors and everything that's up here, switches, those stay in the hilt, and this section of the chassis could just be taken right out. There are more actual decorative elements inside of this section here attached to the chassis, but I'm not going to pull it out right now because it's just not that important really. But every section of this, I'm trying to make sure it's got a lot of detail going on. Now, so when we put it back together, it's just the reverse of what we've already done. You simply slide the bottom of the hilt up and make sure you're lining up the wire with that little greeble wire housing thing here, and it slides right in. And it's literally pretty solid already, just like that. But nonetheless, we're gonna put the screw back in here. Tighten it down just to make sure everything is stable. And then I would also put these two side screws on too, but for the sake of the video, we're going to not do that. Next up, blade retention. There are screws right here and right here, hidden in these little alcoves, as well as on the underside of the quillions. So that is how you remove the blade plug and the blade when they're in. So just unscrew those a bit and just kind of shake this guy down until the blade plug comes out. Basically, it's just a micro blade going on in there. Side quillions are a different size set screw. I'm not really sure why, but they are. Just a few turns on those. These guys are a bit tight. Not the screw, but the blade plugs. So Sometimes it takes a little bit of doing to get them to come out, but I've found if you just shake it around a bit, they will come out enough that you can grab them and pull. Of course, with gloves on, it's not quite that easy. Sorry, I'm just gonna grab some tweezers so I can yank this guy out. Here's this guy. Again, just a little micro blade. And David, I will address the tightness of these before I call this finished so that they're not as difficult for you to get out. That's part of the fine-tuning process. Before I send every saber out, I always go through the entire thing and just kind of fine-tune it and make sure everything is easy, perfect, and exactly the way you want it to be. If you look inside each of the 3 blade holders, you'll see pogo pin style blade connectors. The Quillian ones are inset all the way to right here, so 2 inches deep. Nice and deep on those. This guy, probably again 2 inches. It goes to right there. So your blade's going in a solid 2 inches. I've got a 1 inch Neopixel string blade, which is simply inserted there, and then you tighten down these set screws to make sure she's locked in place. And then, here's the fun part. Love these side Quillians. These I got from Outer Rim Sabers. They are clear polyacrylic 3D printed flame blades, and they're just awesome. Really, really nice product. Can't recommend these highly enough. So these guys, also Neopixels, just slide them in. And these guys fit just exactly perfectly how I want the blade plugs to fit. Tight and stable, but not so much so that it's hard to get them out. So just push them in, lock them down. Now let's just make sure. Yeah, we're on the right blade. So here is probably, I would say, without a doubt, the main reason why the Teensysaber is awesome. The animated fire blade with staggered ignition and Neopixels. You can't beat that. I mean, that just is Kylo Ren. Let me kill the lights so you can really see the effect. Just gotta love that. So that's the first blade in the blade array. Fire blade with staggered ignition. Next one up, I did what I call stress fire. This is something that I've tweaked, but was created by Megtooth Sith. Love this blade. Great job, Tom. It's got a nice white flash on clash and blaster block. Really aggressive, awesome blade lockup. That effect just never gets old. Next up is just a standard bright red with a white flash. Not staggered ignition, because I feel like the effect looks better with the white flash to begin with. Just kind of explodes into life. And then I love the real slow retraction with 3 blades. This is a really cool effect. Next up we've got a red and yellow audio flicker blade, which is a strobe effect alternating between red and yellow based on what the frequency of the audio track is doing. So it's really just a cool, like, fire orange color. Red Tripletron blade. Super fantastic. Seeing the Tron blade, the color cycle blade, on a Crossguard for the first time was really cool. You just, it's a cool looking blade to begin with, but when you've got 3 blades simultaneously cycling up, it's just a really cool effect. Next up is a red strobe, I think? Yeah. So in person, this looks a bit different. The video kind of, the speed of the camera lens doesn't really capture it right, but look at the reflection on the monitor. That's really what it does. No, that's not true either. So basically it's almost a solid red color that's got an incredibly fast strobe. And the parts that are blacking out, that's just the camera. Next up, we did a white strobe, which is like daylight bright white. Just the POV blade, which looks really badass on the Crossguard. And then, of course, because no Teensysaber Crossguard is complete without the triple rainbow blade. It's just preposterous and fantastic at the same time. Battery indicator, just so you know. And back to the beginning, I didn't put the full array of blades on this that I sometimes put on my sabers for obvious reasons. This is a Kylo Ren Crossguard saber. It doesn't need blue or green or purple or yellow or pink or anything else. It needs that. Just staggered ignition fire blade. It's just so awesome, especially in real life. Like, this looks great on video, it looks way better in real life. Last thing to mention is that this guy is obscenely bright. I put a lot of effort, a lot of extra energy into getting this thing as bright as I could, brighter than any of my other sabers. The main thing I did was I upped the power supply, put a really big battery in this guy. It's got a 5,000 milliamp hour Samsung 2170. This is a great hilt to do that in because the battery sits right here, and the internal diameter of this section right here is maybe an inch, so you've got a ton of room to jam a giant battery in there. And that battery has way more juice than your standard 18650, and the ability to push amps quite a bit harder, which means that all the Neopixels that are at work right now, we've got 3 different blades, plus the internal color cycle things, plus the crystal chamber. Those are all running, so you need to really have a lot of power to push them all brightly, not have things get dim on you. that was one of my main concerns. That's about it. Short and sweet. I may do another video after I hear from David, but I just wanted him to have a chance to check everything out, see what he thinks, give me some feedback, and if there's anything you want me to add or subtract, modify, just let me know. And thank you guys for watching.